Okay, I think we are officially live. Hi, everyone. Hope you are doing well. And I'm really, really excited about our Black is King live broadcast today with an amazing panelist. Before I get into the deal with you all, let me just make sure everyone can hear me. Let's see here with the, okay, great. I'm seeing this. I have someone here. Hello, this is Tina from New Jersey. Awesome. Great, Uni, we're here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So it's good to see that everybody can hear me. For our Facebook people, can our Facebook people see us? This is our first time doing this live. Okay, so let's add Facebook here, making sure that it has started as well. For my Facebook people, can you guys see the live stream? Please, if you can, comment so I can pull you in and make sure that you can see me. This is Miss Uduak with AfricanMusicLaw.com show. We're doing a live stream broadcast. It's actually our first time doing live stream, but we've been doing the podcast for quite a long time. And this time around, we're talking about Black is King from a different angle. We're looking at the business of fashion. We're looking at the business of music. We're tracing the money. We're following the money because it's great if you, either way you stand, whether cultural appreciation or cultural appropriation, we still got to follow the money as it relates to our creatives. So we have a lot to talk about. Facebook people, can you hear me or see me? I want to make sure you can see me on the Facebook end of things. Can everybody see me on Facebook? Yeah? Is there a way to confirm that? Facebook folks, can you see me on the live stream? Okay, not sure if the Facebook folks can see me. So give me a second to just confirm that. Our guests are waiting in the waiting room. Okay, let's delete this right here and just make sure our Facebook persons can see us. All right, we're on the Miss Uduak page and the African Music Law page. Can everybody see? Let's see here. Okay, yes, we are live on Facebook. Awesome, 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 awesome. All right, so I am officially ready to pull in our guests. Oh, great, awesome. Hi, Nina, thank you so much. So Nina confirming, awesome. Thank you, girl, for confirming that. I appreciate you. So let me officially step back and introduce myself again for those of you who are not familiar with the brand, and then I will bring on our guest and they'll introduce themselves, and then we're ready to launch into the panel. First of all, my name is Uduak Oduak. I go by Miss Uduak for short. I am a fashion and entertainment lawyer. I'm also the host and producer for the AfricanMusicLaw.com show. The show has been going on since 2014. Lots of episodes. I think this is our 140th episode. 139 or 140th episode. And I thought that we wanted to do something different, this time a live stream, and specifically to take on this beautiful body of work, yet controversial, which is Beyonce's Black is King. We're going to approach it differently, whether you are on the fence or whatever sides you take, whether cultural appropriation or appreciation. We really are going to also look at the business of fashion and the business of music, and most importantly, make sure that our creatives are talking about obviously the amount, the dollars and or the pounds or the naira or what have you with respect to compensation and equitable compensation. To that end, I've got three amazing guests: Stanley Ebigbo, Elfonnie Anusionwu, and Eji Benson, who are going to be assisting me today in discussing all those issues, and they have extensive experience in this space. All right. So let's get ready to rumble, and I'm going to invite our first guest. Let's make that Elfonnie, who I'm going to add to live. Hi, Elfonnie. How are you? How are you doing?
Hi, Uduak. I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Thank you so much for all the marketing and promotions. We've introduced you more so as the founder of StyleRave.com and the editor-in-chief, but please tell our audience a little bit more about who you are.
Well, I'm Elfonnie Anusionwu. I'm the founder, like Uduak said, of Style Rave, a leading and fast-rising fashion and lifestyle platform based in New York, but catering to Black women and all women, no matter their race. And we're dedicated to inspiring a generation of stylish and confident women in a way that empowers them to become more in whatever they choose to pursue.
Okay, and I know you're leaving a little bit of a background because Elfonnie is Miss Brains. I mean, she's got an engineering degree. She's a philanthropist. She's done so much work on the continent, specifically in in the country she hails from, which is Nigeria. And we're going to sort of be looking at part of those aspects with respect to Black is King. Thank you, Elfonnie. I'm going to introduce our next guest, Eji Benson. 1 second. Let's get Eji here. Eji, how are you?
I'm good, Udvak. Excited to see you. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm well, thank you. I'm excited to see you too. And Eji Benson is a fashion creative and manufacturer as well. He's done work with some of the biggest celebrities you can think of. And Eji, just give our audience a little bit more insight on who you are.
Well, I am a fashion manufacturer. I'm a fashion entrepreneur. We develop and manufacture collections for a number of designers across the world, and we own our own brands. So fashion is what we do, and I'm African, and I'm just happy to be in this space.
That is awesome. And Eji is one of the most modest persons I've ever met. I met him through my magazine, Lady Brill, and longtime reader, longtime fan. He works on all kinds of levels, but you'll never know because he's always so chill about it. So that's awesome. I love the humility, Eji. All right, we'll introduce our last guest, and then we'll have all panelists and be ready to go on the topics that we're talking about. So let me introduce our next guest, Bond. Hi, Bond. How are you? Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you so much. Bond is a talent manager and also an author. So Bond, can you just give us a little bit more about your work, even though we've mentioned it? There's a little bit of an echo there. Do you have maybe earplugs or something that can remove the echo?
Okay, I'll quickly switch it off.
Okay.
But it's nice to be here. Nice to be here. My name is Bond. I'm a talent manager. I've been able to work with a superstar artist called Phyno in Nigeria. I've been able to build the brand from scratch, from zero to the biggest level that he is now, with a demographic of about 10 million worldwide, and at the same time, I'm author. I decided to put out a book with my experience as an artist manager in Nigeria, West Africa. I decided to put out a book, a music business book, to inspire, to re-educate the next generation of artists. And at the same time, I founded a platform called Garden Promotion, which helps in marketing, strategizing, and managing some of these young talents coming out from Africa. So I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. One of the things that really I appreciate about Bond is when you're talking about African stories, for the most part, everybody else is writing our stories. And to have someone actually write a Pan-African guide on artist management is something that I'm so thrilled about, that I've been so excited to support and continue to support. And so we'll give him a chance later on to plug in his book, but definitely go, if you're a creative, and go get a copy of his book. All right, let's get everybody here so that we can get straight into our topic. Bond, we're still hearing a little bit of an echo on your part, so if there's a way to rectify that, that would be awesome. All right, so let's get Eji back in here, and let's get Elfonnie here in here. So hi everyone, again, welcome. And so we are ready to get into our first topic, and you all are sort of aware of what we're talking about. Bond, is there a way with the echo? I'm still hearing it. Do you have earplugs if possible, or something?
No, nothing is here. No one is here. Okay.
All right, maybe you could just mute your mic then. Maybe that would help. And then when you have to speak, yeah, that would help. All right, so let's try that. Okay, we don't hear the echo anymore. So first things first, let's start off with just everybody got a chance to see the movie. What are your immediate impressions, or the musical and visual album, Black is King? What are your immediate impressions and just generally of what you think? Let's start with Elfonnie.
So just with all the hype that came with the movie or musical, however you choose to look at it, I was expecting a lot, and so when I started watching it, I went in with high expectations, and I'll have to say that I wasn't disappointed. Beyonce delivered on an artistic level, and it was quite a journey watching the like Black is King from the beginning to the end, and it basically carried me through so many different emotions and awakenings and reawakenings, on things that I already know, and things that maybe I didn't really look into in the past, in terms of the constant reassurance that Black is King, that you are somebody, like that strong message that Beyonce keeps hammering on. And I think that on artistic delivery, on message, she came through very well, and I was quite impressed.
Okay, Eji, what were your impressions? You got to unmute, Eji.
I was saying that for me, I have to agree with Elfonnie. It was beautiful. I think you have to just give it a big African drum roll. I think she did an incredible job, especially in this era where there's so much effort aimed at depressing Black thoughts, like just silencing the Black voice. For this work to come out now, it's so important for us, So for me, I love the work. I think that there's a certain originality to it, a certain authenticity to it that makes you really proud to be African, because sometimes I think we forget, we forget, because when you're Black, you struggle with so many things, and sometimes we forget the beauty of it, like the hugeness of this idea of being Black. And she paints that picture so well. It's a beautiful African tapestry, So I'm a big fan of it. My impressions of it, I'm so happy that she did it.
Okay. All right. Seems like this panel is more cultural appreciation, but we will get into the other side of things.
Oh,
all right. Dawn, what were your initial impressions?
Okay, I'm a big fan of Beyonce, and from Destiny's Child to the woman, the powerful woman she's become of date, in the pop culture. I know she's a businesswoman, so when I saw the whole project, I followed it up from the beginning, from last year that the audio came out and to date. When I saw the project, I was so excited, going from who she is and tapping into her originality. I think she's discovered who she is, and she tried to go into and discover more, see where she's bringing the West African, the East African, bringing everybody together, trying to tell a story, trying to sell the message, to re-educate the people out there in the West, because they see us as an African, they see it, everybody thinks that Africa is this monkey, the kind of a thing. So the way she showcases every culture, look at the culture, look at the lifestyle, the dresses, everything. I'm impressed. I'm really, really impressed. It was a fantastic job. And her team again, I think they did very well. I'm impressed.
Okay, so let's take it from there and transition into talking about some of the controversies you've heard about Black is King, starting first with the issue of cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation. All of you seem to say, oh, she's appreciating the culture based on what you were saying, but let's explore a little further. For example, Bond, let's start with you. You say that she, for example, was able to showcase every aspect of our culture, African culture, but the East Africans are not happy, and there are other groups that are not represented. And then there's the criticism that she is essentially sort of showing the Western concept of Africans, with all this ritualistic things, imbibed in it. And also she is having the ideology that every African person is king, when that's simply not the case. There are poor parts of Africa, etc. Can you talk to us about that particular area of criticism that we keep hearing?
Okay, I've been able to tour around some African countries, from West Africa to East Africa, South Africa. I've been able to move around within their city. So I can tell a little bit about their culture, how they dress and eat and stuff like that. Beyonce tried to express all that, but she didn't really, from what she was trying to showcase, she didn't really go deep, because all these people have they have their own culture, the way they do their thing. But people out here in the West, they feel that Africa is a country, not knowing that there are different regions, there are different cultures, Then I also think that she's supposed to, like when she was showcasing the Ghanaians, the East Africans, she was supposed to indicate, okay, this is Ghana, West Africa, so that everybody knows that, okay, Africa everybody doesn't really dress like this, everybody doesn't really dance like this. She's supposed to specify, this is Ghana, West Africa, this is Ethiopia, so while watching, you already get the picture, oh, this is this country, this is how they eat, this is how they dress, this is what the environment is like, but kudos to her as well. She did well. I won't say she did 100, but she tried her best in showcasing every part of it. I'm so excited that she even traveled. She touches different countries, trying to get these details out. She did well. Then on some other African countries, I would say some of them are not really happy, because they didn't really showcase their culture very well. They didn't really showcase it the way they feel it should be presented. So when people are telling the story, you know how to express it properly. So on that note, I think she tried, she did her best, but a lot more could have been done. A lot more could have been done. Maybe if she had a proper guide that can really interpret those cultures in those countries, because I'm sure they wanted to showcase their food. They have different kind of food, like in Nigeria, we have different kind of food. If you go to Ghana, they have their food, they have the way they do their thing. So I think those aspects should have been put in place, to really tell the story. So everybody out here will know, okay, this is what it looks like in Africa. But at the same time, this is what she showcases is the new Africa. Let me just put it in new Africa, not what people think Africa used to be. And Africa general is not a country. There are so many countries out there.
Okay.
On that note, I think
and go to Elfonnie. Elfonnie, the idea that Africa is a continent, she can only showcase obviously so much, so many cultures. She can only showcase a limited amount of cultures, because like 50 countries. How do you get through everybody? That's not necessarily where I want to push. Where I want to push a little bit is the idea, and I hear it all the time, and even Bond saying, hey, this is the new Africa that Beyonce is showcasing. But the idea that people are saying, and I've heard this feedback also from those who appreciate her, saying she basically has done Africa a favor in putting Africa on this platform and showcasing African fashion, showcasing African music. A lot of the people that she created Black is King with are a lot of Africans from the beginning all the way till the end. So how do you respond to that? And do you have any criticism of the work, if at all, even though you say, of course, that you appreciate the breadth and the depth of how she went in with it?
So as someone who is a pseudo creative, I think, because I have to create content all the time, every single day. And even while editing content written by other people, I often find that it's quite hard to be fully inclusive in whatever you're working on, because the more inclusive you are, the more time you're spending. So people have to look at the fact that with any project, no matter how much you want to include, time is a limiting factor. So if, for instance, if she wanted to include every single culture in there, it would have probably taken way more time, because Africa is a rich continent with so many different countries and so many different cultures within those countries too. Having said that, I think that Beyonce could have done a lot more in terms of trying to balance the act and the art. So if I was Beyonce, which I am not, let's get that clear, right? So what I would have done is try to make sure that I have advisors from different parts of the continent, from the north, from the east, from the south, and the west. Because if you're trying to help uplift Africa, if you're trying to help paint a new picture, a different picture of Africa is great, Black is king, this is where we come from, I think that it's very important, especially for our Black brothers and sisters who are not back home, the Blacks in diaspora, the Black African Americans. It's very important to give them a history or a piece of work that is very encompassing, that is rich in history and rich enough to reframe the story that Africa is a monolith. And I think that's the number one problem that a lot of people have had with this, the view that Africa is a monolith in terms of, just flowing from one artist to the next and singing in different African languages. And, it just flows. And so for someone who is, say, African American or Caribbean, they may not be able to differentiate. And even I, as a Nigerian woman, there's some cultures there, some symbolism and some songs and languages that I couldn't really tell what part of Africa that is from, right? So I think that is, I would say, where Beyonce fell in not differentiating the different parts of Africa where, say, the art, where the songs, where the hairstyles come from. And even if she didn't have to do it while the movie played, while the musical played, I feel like a few minutes towards the end of the film could have been dedicated to showing, say, behind the scenes, right? Different scenes of, the hairstyles. So it was an opportunity to educate an entire world of people, and not just Blacks. Everybody, whites, Spanish people, everybody who has grown up or who doesn't know so much about Africa, including me, right? So if you're going to take on such a big project, which she did a great job, but like I said, when you're creating something, it's hard to do it all, but it's also very important to make sure that the message is not lost while you're trying to deliver such a great message. So I think that's something that she could have done. So for instance, there's a scene where Tiwa is singing, and she's singing in Yoruba. Mm-hmm. And while she's singing, the background shows a South African, painting or art. And immediately the Nigerian in me was like, what happened to all the Nigerian artwork, right? So I feel like that could have been better married, right? That scene, for instance. And then soon after, Tiwa is singing in Yoruba. There's a scene where Nadi, I can't remember her last name, but she's South African. And so she comes out, she looks like a bride and she's wearing white, right? And so there's that mixture of cultures, that adds to the view that her biggest critics have about this piece, helping push the notion that Africa is a monolith, without showing the true richness, while doing that at the same time, because she does show the richness of our culture, but she doesn't differentiate it. And that is miseducating. And that's what's been happening for so long. And I think that this could have been an opportunity to break that down. Even when Tiwa was singing, you could say Yoruba language. And then as the song is singing, people know, oh, this is the Yoruba language that I hear of all the time. Or there was a time where there was someone singing in, I want to believe it's a South African language. So that those little pieces of information could go a whole long way in re-educating people that have been miseducated for so long. Would that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. And you have Uni here saying you're making some great points. So yes, indeed, and completely agree. And I would add this. I think Bond made a very, very good point at the very beginning. He said, I've been watching Beyonce since Destiny's Child up till her career here, and it's been one of an identity, and she's sort of evolving into this woman who's finding her voice and knowing who she is. And that's what I've always thought about Beyonce. And we'll get into it on the business side. Certainly we'll chop it up pretty soon. Eji, I'm coming to you. But before I do, continuing on Elfonnie's point, one of the things I've observed about Beyonce is it's sort of, you are playing into a stereotype, about a monolithic stereotype about who Africans are, because there is no differentiation, in my view, with the way you present the culture, even though it's rich, it's exciting, and it really, really, really does revolve around you, like the mother, the stories you're telling. And in my view, to some extent, the African creators, even though they've created all this wonderful work and you can appreciate it, but it almost seems more Beyonce. It almost plays into that Western story. Of course, it's her project, but I thought it was a little overpowering with respect to her being presented into, what she was trying to accomplish with respect to, hey, Africa is beautiful, it's great, you should go. Well, tell us which place we're going to and what cultures or where we're traveling. So really, really great points. Ransom Ihanyi also is adding, Elfonnie, that you are making some great points on what you have to say. Okay, let's talk to Eji. Eji, your thoughts on sort of carrying off on some of the criticisms with respect to Black is King. I mean, we're looking at cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. All of you seem to think more cultural appreciation, but still have criticisms for the piece. So what is your specific one from a fashion standpoint as well, and cultural? Eji, please unmute for a smooth ride. Can we hear you? Okay, there we go.
So for me, I allowed myself to feel all the highs and discomforts I could feel from the project, right? And yes, of course, it's such a huge project. And when you approach this, you have to be aware that there will be a lot of undertones, that it will energize all different kinds of thoughts, you know? And so, and especially when you're doing it from outside, when you're not, cultures are so big that when you take them on, especially when you're taking them on from outside, you're not citizen to them. Of course, it's like a minefield, you know. Mm-hmm. So you see all of those things, but I wanted to dwell on the good parts of it, you know. I wanted to dwell on that attempt to tell the African story, to tell the Black story, you know, the little nuances.
Right there. Stop right there. Is it her job to attempt to tell the African story? We do have Africans that can tell their story. So why do we need Beyonce, sort of like a continued rhetoric to tell the African story?
I didn't look at it from that point. I looked at it from the point of telling a Black story. Yes, it is an African original story, but she was telling it from a Black perspective. So I allowed myself to inhabit the story from that point, you know? So from that point, I just felt like it's important to understand what the misunderstandings would be. It is important to understand what the issues would be, what her problems would be, because how can you capture this culture in one set of videos, you know? So that was that was how I felt the issues would come, just the enormity of the task of catching everything. And I think that in some areas she did a good job. You know, I think there are areas where, for me, I felt like there's this marriage that she was able to find between traditional African folklore and modern storytelling, you know? And I thought that she approached that very well, you know? And also there's this marriage between fashion and art and music, you know, and dance and poetry, that all against a very authentic African backdrop, a very authentic Black drop, as authentic as it could be from when you're outside, you know? So I'm a fan of the project.
You don't seem to have any criticism per se of the piece. You think it was just perfect?
Of course I do, but
so like tell us what it is. I'm specifically curious if you have any. What is it? You've talked about what you really enjoyed about it. What are the other things you thought could have been done better on the project?
I think there are some Western stereotypes that were fed into the project that I felt, you know, like the big, you know, like in the scene in Mode Forever with all this is really audacious in its opulence, you know. Yes, we are an opulent culture, but there are some nuances to that were too Western, you know. So I did have some areas.
Can you describe what those nuances are more specifically?
Well, for one of like her sitting in her bathrobe, you know, there's this scene where she's sitting in her bathrobe. I felt like that scene was so Western, you know. It didn't have really any Africanness to that scene. And then
although the rich Africans do that though, so there you go.
Yeah, I know, but again, if you're trying to tell this Lion King story, you know, it's got to be really granular African in its core, you know. So there were those kinds of things, but overall, I forgave those things, and I tried to see the light. For me, I tried to see the bridge of this building for us. Like, all the collaborations we could have. Like, this is a gold mine. If Africans, because this is like a Black collective in itself. So you got all these people together to work together and get this project out. So if we did that in different other places, in different other spaces, so those were the kinds of things that I was looking out for, you know.
Awesome. Let me add my point of view from a perspective of that Black collective. I don't necessarily agree that there is cultural appropriation, my viewpoint as well. I think that when you look at, for example, music elder like Lagbaja, or just trace our cultural history across the continent, we know for a fact that unfortunately, our forefathers were taken from the continent to, America and all parts of the world. And so if we have our brothers and sisters circling back to reach out and have a connection with us and a relationship with us, I do not see that as cultural appropriation. I do note that often we do hear here in the States, sometimes our brothers and sisters divorce themselves from us and say, hey, we're not Africans, we're Black, or, whatever the case may be. Or sometimes in telling this narrative of slavery, only limited to the Black American experience, which is ridiculous to me because it is a global Black experience. So from that standpoint, I really don't see a cultural appropriation. Now, if we trace the money as we get into the business of music and fashion, then it might end up being something else. But strictly from just artistic standpoint, I don't necessarily see that. Let's see what JJ has to say. JJ is saying, Tina here, her project should actually serve as inspiration for other artists in Africa to step up their game to the highest degree. She took on a challenge that was going to cause conversation. So JJ, I agree with you to some extent, but that's where I don't like the step up the game to the highest degree, because our African artists are already doing that. And that's sort of the question I was asking Elfonnie. Does it end up overshadowing all these creatives? To get to the highest degree, African creatives were predominantly the people who produced the body of work you see. So they already step into the highest degree, and Beyonce is, yes, conceptualizing it, but they're executing it. So we are doing that already. Our creatives are doing that, is how I see that. But great point. I hear what you're saying, JJ. Okay, so let's go to Elfonnie. I'm going to remove the guests, the rest of our guests, and then we'll come back to actually just Elfonnie. I'll take Bond out so that we can just talk about a little bit of the style trends that you enjoyed, and then we'll bring back everybody to get into more discussions on fashion and music. So Bond, stand by for a quick second. We'll bring you back on. All right. So Eji and Elfonnie. Elfonnie, let's start with you. Tell us some of the style trends that you thought were very interesting. I want to get into the dance, the art, the hairstyles, the makeup, the fashion. That's what your platform is for, Style Rave. So get us into it a little bit.
Udai, do you mind if I add something quickly on Beyonce telling the Black story or the African story?
Sure.
Just so that they can get off my head. So
sure.
I'm of the opinion that there's nothing wrong with Beyonce taking a stab at telling the Black story from her perspective, from her creative interpretation. Beyonce has an enormous platform, one that honestly no other African artist has. And I don't see any problem with her telling the story and showing the appreciation that she has for African cultures. Mm-hmm. I want to say cultures because there's so many, and by doing that, I think that it empowers, because she's broken that ice, or should we say glass ceiling, it empowers other artists, both Black American artists or say Jamaican artists and African artists, to carry on that narrative, that empowering narrative of telling our own story, right? And including our own culture in a strong way, including our own art in a strong way, instead of constantly, maybe not constantly, because there are people who don't do it, instead of always trying to westernize their videos. So I think what she's done is empowering for other artists. One, is empowering for African Americans, especially who do not feel like they have somewhere where they're from. So I feel like her story has Black is King has shown them where they're from, if they ever doubted or if they ever questioned it. So I just wanted to make that point,
So let me just touch on that point. Instead of trying to westernize, I completely agree. I'm a big fan of really having our cultural elements incorporated into our videos, really focusing on our identities. We have a woman who's saying, I'm trying to discover my identity, both from a standpoint of an artist, a Black woman, and then, of course, my African cultural identity. So I agree with it. But on the flip side, there's so many American videos and creatives who incorporate all the time African elements or Asian and all kinds of elements into their videos. And we don't necessarily say that they're trying to westernize. So can we leave room maybe for our creatives to be able to bring in Western elements into their videos and not necessarily deem it to be trying to be too Western?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so when I said westernized, my point is that the focus shouldn't be so much on trying to create a video or a musical that is more acceptable on a Western standard, but rather incorporating elements of your own culture, whether you're a Nigerian artist, a Ghanaian artist, or South African artist, in a rich way that, you understand that each time you create a piece of work, it's an opportunity to tell your story. So what story are you going to tell? Of course, the world is a global village right now, and we are all influenced by each other's culture. So there's no problem with putting elements of, whatever influences that you have, but it is also very important that we carry on our culture so that we don't lose it.
Okay. Excellent points. All right. Let me add Eji to the conversation, and let's briefly talk about some of the style trends. And Eji, you create trends and style for so many brands. And Eji, of course, Elfonnie, of course, you've been having that discussion for years on covering fashion. So what were some of the standouts for from the style trend standpoint?
I think for me, I do agree with everything Elfonnie just said, but I do agree too that just imagine us flipping the coin, where for now Western stereotypes always steal into everything, but now just imagine in this project she kind of emboldens an African stereotype, from a fashion point of view. For me, I saw, because fashion,
interesting.
Fashion isn't just about clothes. Fashion is about an attitude, how clothes make you feel. And in this project, you could see that these Africans, and I think this is something that is very unique to Africa. People are happy. It's colorful. There's a certain sunniness to being African, in spite of all the issues that we may have. But people are essentially quite happy. And you see that in their dance, in their music, in just the way they carry themselves in these beautiful clothes. So for me, most of my takeaways were just the boldness of our fashion as Africans, the boldness of our prints as Africans. And we're totally unabashed in the way that we express ourselves in our clothes. And she brought that in. She really, so I was thinking, imagine that, flipping that coin though, where we always wanted to make that Western suit. We always wanted to move a certain way to have this Western clothes, these silhouettes. But these were African silhouettes mostly. And they were, yes, we have suits and all this other Western undertones to it, but most of the fabric, most of the clothes were very African inspired. And I thought that was so cool.
So tell us some of the trends that you or style trends that really stood out to you. Let's start first with you.
Animal prints, they were huge in this movie. Animal prints were really huge. And I think sometimes Africans are so used to color that it doesn't faze them to wear colors, but other people are a little bit afraid of color, but here you have animal prints even on cars and everywhere. The statement was strong, So that's one of the trends that I felt was really, really beautiful. And sometimes,
But we've seen those animal prints for forever. Each season, and the West is so used to the animal prints, and we're back to animal prints again, I guess.
Yeah, but the West was used to animal prints being done by Western designers now, and presented in a Western context. But this is Africa owning it. Africa owned it in this movie. And also, there's something else that I saw. It's a small nuance, but because African fabrics are mostly a little harder and our silhouettes are a little, our silhouettes pay more tribute to the hardness of our fabrics. They're a little bit away from the body a lot of the times. But in this fabric, in this project, you see a lot of African, you see soft fabrics in African fashion, in African silhouettes, you know, like in water, you know, there is a lot of softness in the fabrics.
In water, okay. Eji, looks like.
Yeah, there's a song about water. There's some really soft silhouettes there, and which is, you know, I normally when I'm working with African fabrics, I'm always used to silhouettes that are a little bit harder, not so close to the body. But this was pretty good, you know. So I see, for me, that was one of the areas that I enjoyed in the movie. I thought it was brave to go there. Did Uda freeze?
Uda is frozen.
Uda is frozen. Yeah.
She'll be back in a few seconds, I'm sure.
Yes, he'll be back in a few seconds. But I think it was such a huge undertaking, though.
I think it was, and I'll wait for Uda to come back. But I do have some really important things that I noted with the fashion. It was colorful, it was beautiful, and I love that she wore a lot of what we call gele.
Yes.
Because especially the younger generation, we're used to the smaller types of gele these days, you know, the smaller, more artsy and fancy gele. But she really went back to the roots with the gele, and I'm glad that she did that, because it's a very strong part of our culture, especially in West Africa. Women, you know, especially for important occasions, and it's very queenly. So I think it added to that the strong message that she's sending out, that, you know, Black is king, Black is queen, which I think is inherently, you know, part of that, the message that she's putting out. So I think she did a great job with that.
No, I think it was just such a huge project, you know. It's a huge undertaking. It's so easy to pick holes in it, but it's also just so it's just amazing to see what's good about it.
You know? With it.
Okay, yeah. Can everybody hear me? What happened?
Yeah, you froze.
Oh, that was me. Oh, okay.
Yeah. You froze at my water.
Oh, okay. All right. So Elfonnie, what were the style trends that you enjoyed? I already gave you guys, hold on a sec. Everyone watching, I already gave you heads up. There might be technical glitches. Oh, well, we're going to keep riding through it and get through it. So go ahead, Elfonnie. What were some of the things style trends that you enjoyed?
Oh, I love seeing the big, huge geles, you know, the anti-geles that, you know, have kind of lost their steam.
Elfonnie?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying that I loved, and I was just telling Eji when you froze, that I loved seeing the huge, you know, traditional West African geles, the really, you know, fancy geles that she incorporated into a lot of her looks. And I think that it added to not just the glamour of the you know, of the video, but it also added to her message that Black is king and Black is queen, you know, which is inherently, you know, part of that message, because, you know, for West African women, we wear gele for really important occasions, and so by wearing gele to so many of on so many of her looks, including while she was in a swimsuit, I think her message there was that no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you should never forget the fact that you're a queen, you're royalty. And I know earlier on there was a conversation about the fact that not everybody in Africa is a king. Of course, not everybody in Africa is a king or a queen, but we should not be so restrained that we fail to see the artistic interpretation of what she's saying by Black is king. What she's saying is not that everybody is rich and perfect and you know, royalty, but that we all have something in us that if we can tap into it, we can become great at whatever we're doing. I think that is the message. She's trying to reorient our people, and that's Black people, and to destroy years of brainwashing that Black is servants. So she's flipping the message here, and I think that is so important, that no matter who's critiquing Beyonce or has something negative to say about her work, because it's not perfect and no one's work ever is, we should not forget that message. She's done a great job in trying to destroy years of brainwashing that we're inferior and we're less than. And I think that that's very important. And so with the fashion, she showed that with her gele, trying to incorporate it into almost every look that she had. And, even some of her guests when she had the tea party, But having said that, the little problem that I had with the fashion.
Elfonnie said, but after all that great things.
Yeah, so no, first I have to clap, then I'm like, okay. So clap, then I snap. So the problem that I had with the fashion was that I would have loved to see a lot more African designers being used. So in my review and analysis of the designers that were used, a huge number were Western designers, but some of them were of color. But there's a lot of designers from the United States, from France. There's even a designer from Italy, the United Kingdom. We have a designer from Senegal, Adama Paris.
Yeah.
And we have Tongoro from Senegal as well. But there's so many amazing designers from Nigeria. There's so many amazing designers from Ghana, South Africa. So when it comes to fashion, I would have loved to see some of their works incorporated here. So not just the look being African inspired, but I would have loved to see the work of real African designers. And not to say that the fashion here was not great. The designers did a great job, but I would have loved to see a combination of, so that it's
very interesting, because Eji, you were saying, Black identity with the animal prints. I said, we've seen animal prints forever and ever and ever on the runways, every theme, on the Western side. And you said, well, this time it's being said from a Black is king African perspective. But Elfonnie just pointed out there predominantly more Western designers of color or African Americans that have been used and French, etc., to design. Elfonnie, pointing that back to you, if Black is king, what does it matter, or who does it matter? Why does it have to be an African designer if Black is king in the context that you've said it, and it's a global collective work? Why does it matter that she used African designers? I mean, she uses African artists, musicians. Why is it important to have that more representation with respect to the designer side of things?
I think the key thing is balance. So I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any Western designers. I'm just saying that there should have been a better representation or a better showing of African designers, right? It would have been lovely to see something by, say, Style Temple, who does really fancy, nice, constructive designs with a gele put on top of it. It would look just as beautiful as anything else. So, for instance, I didn't see any, and I stand corrected, but I didn't see any work by a Nigerian designer. So even one work by a Nigerian designer would have been great. Why is that important? Because the message that Black is king originates from the fact that all Black comes from Africa, right? And the story starts out with the motherland, right? So in anything that is done with the project, there should be that foundational basis that it's well represented, just like it's done with the hair. So not only when it's convenient, right? There's a lot of beautiful representation of African hairstyles with her hairstyles. So that's what I'm saying, that would have been wonderful if it was translated into the fashion angle as well, so that more African designers would have had a chance to be seen, right? Not that other people wouldn't be seen, but almost like a 50-50 balance. I'm all about balance.
On the visibility. Okay. All right. So I'm going to transition to the fashion music. Elfonnie, I'm going to remove you out of this room and bring you back very soon for that. I'm going to bring Bond in. Thank you so much for such insightful comments. And I'm going to bring Bond in because Bond and Eji, I want you all to have this fashion music, this connection that we keep seeing over and over again. All right, Bond, thank you so much for waiting. And of course, Eji and you, Bond, you have extensive experience in the music business with a huge productions on the scale that we've seen for Beyonce. And Eji, you, of course, are very good with merchandising as well. So let's start first with Bond's audio is killing us with the echoing, but we'll try to work through it. Just mute it when you're not speaking, and then talk to us when you are, so that way we're not getting so much static. Bond. Okay, so Eji, let's start with you. There's such a huge disconnection, and I've seen it for so long with the African fashion and African music. The two never talk to each other. And of course, as you know, starting in this space with the focus on African fashion and with the focus on African music, I've had the chance to be very entrenched, both as an industry insider as well as just, a thought leader in that space on both. And I can't understand why we can't seem to marry both. What's going on from your perspective? By the way, hold on 1 second. Ria has a comment. Let's get Ria in. Ria says, I love the way you process information, Elfonnie. Very insightful comments from Elfonnie. Virtual hug. Awesome. Okay. Yes, Eji.
So I think this is one of the things I like about the project. I felt like in this project you saw this collective of people, which was always a struggle for us to achieve. All these people working together, Nigerians, Ghanaians, everybody, painters, musicians, dancers, fashion designers working together, right? So I think the problem is and we've always brushed this issue on so many occasions. I think we don't dance together because we don't try enough to dance together. The opportunities are always there. There's the opportunities for brand extension for a musician are huge from a fashion point of view, because a musician they need merchandise, of course. And it can just be t-shirts or sweatshirts, or it can be a really dedicated merchandise package that represents who they are. It could be a t-shirt, but done in the personality of the musician. So they're not just run-of-the-mill t-shirts. So it's just a question of us being willing to dance together. The opportunities are there, and we have capacities. There's somebody like me. There's so many people, and there's somebody like you to protect our entities. So it's the only thing left is just to dance, and there's somebody like Bond who is packaging these people. But part of that packaging is merchandising, and we could all start to work together on how we extend these brands and how we build on, because she's tasted in this project, she's tasted at us. She said, look, this is a bridge. It's there. If you guys can build it, build it. We just don't build it anymore.
So we'll come back to that, and I'm going to have you break it down from a fashion manufacturing standpoint. There are a lot of executives and industry professionals listening to this, and they've not figured out how to actually produce, products with respect to the fashion music marriage. You do that all the time for brands, and I want you to break down that process for us so that if they are interested in engaging and marrying that, we can actually start seeing more of that. Before we do that, let me go to Bond and sort of get Bond, your perspective on why we keep having this disconnection. You've worked with a top artist like Phyno. You're very well versed with the continent and how artists work and productions. Why can't we have our artists translate to live entertainment income with more money coming in from the merchandising side? It just seems to never happen. What's going on? What's the problem? Unmute, Bond, so you can you unmute so we can hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been breaking, the technical fault has been breaking really bad. I don't know if is it better?
We go ahead and speak and share your thoughts. We'll let you know.
Okay. On that note, the Africans, when it comes to business side, the merchandising of these outfits, African, way we are structured, the way our system is functioning is different. Whereas most of the artists, sometimes they will want to merchandise, their brands and stuff, project it out. But we have a system that can monitor these sales, monitor these prints. Like example, when we produce, like my artists, when we want to do something similar, like merchandise these African prints and put it out there in the market, sometimes we don't really get it because we can't really control the sales, we can't really control the piracy, get into the way the country system is being structured. We have the idea to put it out, but we can't really control what's going on out there in the market, because the next man out there is just going to pick up your stuff, your hard-earned stuff, and rebrand it in their own local way. That way, not mixing up with the quality of what you're trying to sell out there. So most of those things.
So hold on a sec, since you're breaking up really bad, let me try to summarize what I think you're saying. You're saying that the issue is not attempting to put out merchandise. The problem is can you mute? Well, hold on a sec. Let me try to summarize it first. Can you mute on your end? Let me try to summarize what you said, and then you can correct me if that's not the synopsis. Okay. So what I think I'm hearing you say, because it's breaking so much, but the issue is not that you from a standpoint of an artist standpoint, you're not trying to get the product out or not aware of other streams of income. The issue is several things. Number one, distribution, production, and production quality, and having people basically replicate it so fast in the marketplace that you don't even have a chance to compete. Is that essentially what you're saying, Bond? Okay. Unmute and yes, please carry on.
Yes, on that note, yes, I don't know if it's better now, but on that note, some of the things that is stopping the most of the superstars in going into merchandising. We talked about distribution. We don't really have a strong point when it comes to a strong outfit for distribution. Creating it is not a problem, but we don't really have that distribution networks yet that can connect to Africa. As we don't really have that system that can really show the sales, the number of sales that we have out there without the next man trying to get it on a lower quality, just to get ends meet. So some of those things are really stopping the growth when it comes to that merchandising. But out there in the Western world, it's easy to produce, distribute, and you get your returns back. We're still fighting. We get to try to make it balanced so that everybody can, because it's source of income. Everybody wants to have other means of income, right? An artist put out a song, it goes in the way of merchandising, with maybe with the title or with the brand, just to also make the brand go bigger. But these little things, it's hard to control. It's hard to get in that market.
So I have a follow-up question for you then, Bond, on that point. It would seem to me that for example, the Alaba trade, let's focus on Nigeria specifically, as opposed to the rest of the continent. In Nigeria, you have the traders, the Alaba market, where a lot of the music trades and clothes and electronic products are sold. And it would seem to me that if they've been able to somehow master distribution across Nigeria, and sometimes even outside of Nigeria to the rest of the continent, that our talents can go and broker deals directly with them to create those merchandise for purposes of or create it and broker distribution deals with them for purposes of taking that product nationwide or on the continent. How come doesn't seem to be an option in this situation?
The Alaba market is, which happens to be one of the largest market in Africa. They have union. I think they have a union. They have a system when it comes to distributing with Nigeria, within Africa, and the rest, and they work together. And when it comes to that merchandising part, we don't really have a structure or a system or a body that works like that. So it's easy for music it's easy for music to trend like that because they have a body, they have a system, they know how to distribute with their networks and stuff like that. Sometimes even the artists, they go to them for business. You know, they talk and they distribute. When it comes to merchandising, we don't really have that yet. Instead, what the about people about estate coin about Nigeria, what they do is they just wait for you to put out a fantastic product. And they go and replicate it and and do it their way, and it's start trending with start trending, but they don't have a body of work. They don't have a body of work like the guys do. The other guys, they have offices, they have their union, they have the president and stuff. And these other guys, you know, as we call them, the other guys, like the local guys on the street, they just pick up any trending brand or any trending material, they replicate it and just to get ends meet, distribute it within themselves. But they don't have an office. They don't have. You don't know where they are. They're out there in the street. They just open their eye looking for the next trending stuff to get on.
Okay. So, all right. Let me invite Eji back into this.
Bond. I think she has frozen. She has frozen a little bit. She has frozen. She'll come back. Yeah. But I get your point, though. I get your point totally. Yeah, I get your point. But there's some solutions to that. Yeah, there are some ways that we can do that. I think
it's possible for the government or if this product of this brand come together like the other guys. They have a system, they have a body, right? They work together. So distribution when it comes to music is easy to distribute from Nigeria to the country. But that merchandising aspect, I'm not saying there's no such body that do that. It's being a little
I think it needs, like you said, it needs structure. It has to have a structure that takes care of it. And there are some really defined structures for merchandising that are really good. One of those structures is licensing. It's very effective. And then another one is making sure that a lot of this we don't do a lot of trademarking, you know. So when you don't trademark a product, of course you can't protect it. And then if you don't have a trademark, people may not buy the license, because if they buy the license, it's just they're going to be competing with everybody who is selling the fake goods out there. You know?
We're having technical issues, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Eji, continue. You were saying. Go ahead.
So I was speaking to Bond briefly. So I heard him, and what it needs, there are solutions to all of those things. It just needs a structure. There have to be a merchandise structure, and there are pillars to that structure. One of the biggest pillars is trademark, and then licensing and distribution. See, for the musician or the artist, their biggest pillar is the trademark. Because once it's trademarked, then it's safe for somebody to buy the license. If it's not trademarked, they won't buy the license, because then they'll be faced with all kinds of fake goods in the market. But
and I'll add Elfonnie to this I'm going to add Elfonnie to this, because she has done extensive e-commerce also in Nigeria. Yes. So Elfonnie coming right in. Go ahead. Bond.
So I was saying.
Hold on one second. Bond, our audience is saying it's really hard to hear you. You need to use your headphones, because you sound like you're making some really good points, but they cannot hear you. So, all right, go ahead, Eji.
So I was saying we need to have a dedicated merchandise structure that is built on those three pillars: trademarks, licensing, and distribution. For the musicians, their main concern with that structure is the trademarks. Once they are trademarked, it becomes easy, because they're already trending. People will be interested in helping them create merchandise for that brand, helping them extend their brand through merchandising. But when they don't have the protection of trademarks, of course, nobody would invest their money in that. But once they are trademarked, then it becomes private individuals that will come to you and say, look, I like what you're doing. Let's create this. It could be coffee cups. It could be T-shirts. It could be all kinds of stuff. But the culture of trademark is so important to the growth of merchandising in music, you know?
Okay.
And then,
so you're talking about the whole, legal side, fashion law, music law aspect of things, and how it's important to get the lawyers in place. But I don't think it's just necessarily only the legal side of things. But you could trademark all you want. You could have those things in place. That's very important. Don't get me wrong. But I think you still have to have the business operation side of things really work. And I think that's what Bond is speaking to, and the importance of that operational system, that it's not in place. So you don't really, yes, you trademark, but okay, it's just sitting there, and the system is not as efficient on the execution of those trademark and defending infringements. So what are you going to do? You still got to go back to the marketplace and improve systems. Elfonnie, what has been your experience? I know you've done a lot of e-commerce selling of fashion products. For example, in your specific country, overseas in Nigeria, what has been, how do we marry to your, in your perspective, fashion and music, so we don't always have a situation where the right hand is not talking to the left, etc. On the fashion merchandise.
So let me make this clear. So let me clarify. My e-commerce is mostly focused on the American audience. So because, you know, Style Rave is a global brand, and we have a huge market in Nigeria, but we also have a huge market here in America. So our e-commerce is actually targeted to our followers here in America because of the issues that we have with shipping to Nigeria. So when I did run a fashion business in Nigeria, in part with my sister, it was more of, you know, physical store. So I didn't really operate e-commerce in Nigeria per se. I've had trouble shipping overseas.
So do you think on the fashion music side that artists maybe should be thinking about e-commerce? What has been your success, especially a post-COVID world now? Is e-commerce, once you get the edgy person involved, and is the next step e-commerce then for our artists?
I think so. There's always, there's no reason why any artist should not diversify their income, because as we all know, you know, there's only a certain lifespan that most artists have. Very few have, you know, a longevity that is more than 10 years, right? So I think that going into merchandising is definitely one way to carry on your brand in a way that, you know, that it continues to exist even after your music career starts to slow down, and in a way that you extend your creativity, whether in partnership with others or you can't really do it solely alone as a singer or a rapper, because that may not be your expertise, but in partnership with experts in the fashion world, in a way that you still are giving your fans a part of you even when your music stops coming. So I think that it's definitely something that they need to tap into, and it's something that a few of them have started to do. I know, for instance, Mr. P of the defunct P Square, he recently launched his own fashion line. I don't know how that's going just yet, you know, because with COVID, it's been hard to put to lay your hands on the numbers. The data is all over, even for my business, you know, our e-commerce aspect of the business, because it's hard to some months we're doing really great, and some months it slows down a little bit. It all depends on what's happening in the news, and you know, people's emotions are up and down right now. But definitely, I think it's something that artists need to start looking into. They should pay attention to their American counterparts who do that a lot, and you know, a lot of American artists who have done that have actually become way more successful, like Rihanna, you know, like Jessica Simpson, you know, and even Beyonce. So I think it's definitely something that
I would add Davido with Orange Culture, and Wizkid with Nike, or just examples of brands that we've seen have been super, super successful on that liaison. Although I'm going to go back to Eji to sort of wrap it up on those kind of deals where you're seeing major superstars link up with global brands like that, what does the deal look like on that merchandising side of things? Eji, if you could help us with that.
I think that was the point I was trying to make, because once it does go back to the trademark, once that thing is in place, the licensors would come in, right? The licensing companies would come in, and you don't have to worry about that, because they're coming with distribution, they're coming with manufacturing, they're coming with everything that you would need. All they need from you is that. Yeah. So once you have those things in place.
Yeah. So let me break it down so our audience understands it even more. Basically, when you build that brand equity as Wizkid or Burna Boy or anybody, any artist, and essentially, and you trademark that stage name. So Wizkid, Starboy, for example, trademarked that trademark you have as the owner of that trademark. Often in music, we're talking more on the copyright side of things, and a lot of our artists miss out on the trademark side of things. But the trademark, the brand that you've created, your name, your slogan, your symbol, the brand you've created and registered that trademark now gives you the right as a trademark owner to license it, give permission to other people to help you make more money with it, monetize your intellectual property, monetize your trademark. And in so doing, you, the artists, don't have to worry about operating on such a small scale of one-man army, if you will, or one-woman army, because with those deals, you can then negotiate with the Edges of the world, with the Nikes of the world, and they handle all that. They have the infrastructure and the operational structure that will then help you be able to produce at scale and have a Nike Wizkid relationship, Orange Culture, Davido, and have your products at Selfridges or whatever the case may be. So you need to think more on that scale of trademarking your logo, building brand equity, and being able to then do more with it, is what you're essentially saying, right, Eji?
Absolutely. And they don't even have to spend time protecting it, because the licensing companies will spend all their money to protect the brand. Because
that's a comment coming from Peculiar Nwachuku. She says, you guys are making a lot of sense. Very motivating indeed. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to begin to wrap this up. Bond, I really hope, because this big part on tracing the monies and the royalties and the discussion, I wanted you to be very involved in on the music business side of things. But there are a lot of creatives, not just musicians in it. There are artists as well, fine art kind of work, artistic work. There are also the designers. So let's talk about the money. Let's follow the money, and let's talk about why Beyonce is on the continent. Because all this whole thing, I mean, I think it's great cultural exchange, but I really am about the business of fashion, the business of music. We need to talk about the money. So let's get everybody in here, and let's add everyone in here. So starting first with the business of music, Bond, hope we can hear you well. Can you talk to us about the monies, artists getting paid, and some of this kinds of deals you've seen where you have bigger Western brands or bigger Western artists collaborating, whether it's with your artists or other artists, what that compensation scheme ends up generally looking like? Bond, can we hear you? Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We'll come back to you because you're still breaking really bad. So we'll come back to you. Let's start with Eji. Eji, talk to us a little bit about that compensation scheme. There's so many creatives that are involved here, and I know you've had all kinds of deal making on all kinds of levels, whether it's with retail, with HSN, whether it's with global brands you've collaborated with, and things of that nature. What does that compensation scheme look like, especially on the art and fashion side of things? I'll take on a little bit of the music side, but I'm curious what that looks like for you.
So for us, I mean, we have 2 licenses. So we know exactly how that operates, how that works. You know, we have the license with the WNBA team, where we just finished our basketball shoe and we just launched that. So there are always some structures, you know. There's always a structure that allows you to receive a certain amount of money as the licensing fee itself, you know. So it could be 10% of sales. And then it also allows you to receive some money towards marketing, you know, because you have to be able to market your brand and you need help with that. A lot of the licensing companies will allocate something to you for that. So it just depends on how the licensing arrangement is structured, But
Okay.
once it is in place, working with the right people, it's pretty good. I think it's important
Is that for the entire production? So for you, would you be coming in, for example, on let's just say from a designer standpoint, because it doesn't sound like it's a major manufacturer producing all this collection of fashion work that we see. With the way the videos look, it might have been more individualized designers that were used. So for those purposes, can you speak on that structure on a smaller scale as opposed to that big manufacturing scale?
Oh yeah, I think that would be more like on a small scale where, let's say, a design house was maybe they had to do 100 dresses for that, right? And I'm sure they have been able to work out a pricing for that. I think one of the things that we need at home sometimes is not having to do the pricing yourself. Sometimes you need an agency. You need an agent to handle this. When you handle it yourself, sometimes it gets emotional and you get shortchanged, and then it's away from structures. But I think it's good to have an agent who does,
or a lawyer help you out with.
Exactly. And then it's important to not do these things by yourself all the time. Let somebody delegate the authority to someone who is well versed in that space. A lawyer would be fantastic. An agent would be fantastic. Just like you negotiate the same for sports stars, right? They never sign themselves, right? There's always an agent, and there's a reason for that. Yeah.
Okay. Elfonnie, let's hear from you with respect to any aspect. I know on the back end now with running your platform, you've had to enter into all kinds of deal making. Any kind of input you want to add to the fashion and art side from a standpoint of tracing the money?
I think like Eji just said, the most important thing is making sure that you're not
okay, that's you freezing. Okay, thank God it's not me this time. Go ahead.
I was saying that I agree with Eji that the most important thing when you're making this business deals is making sure that you are not making emotional decisions. For instance, as an artist, whether you're a Nigerian artist or Ghanaian artist, you may get carried away with the fact that you're about to appear with Beyonce, that you are almost willing to do it for free. You know what I mean?
That's true.
But then 10 years from now, you may not be so excited if your bank account is dry, right? So I think it's important to always delegate such decisions to experts on such matters. And that's where people like yourself, who's an entertainment lawyer, come in, right? It's very important, because sometimes when you think that people are doing you a favor, if you really look at it, you'll realize that you're doing them the favor. And I'll use myself as an example. I tend to make emotional decisions because naturally I am a giver and a big giver. So my husband happens to be my business manager because he knows that left for Elfonnie, she'll give it all out for free, right?
For free.
Yes. So I almost have a part of me where I want to run my business as a philanthropy, and I constantly, because I'm naturally a philanthropist, right? That's my first calling. So I have to constantly check myself and have somebody who is more versed in that aspect take care of it, right? So it's very important for artists, no matter what kind of art you do, that when you're getting into partnerships, no matter how small, even with fellow artists in your own country, to make sure that these matters are ironed out by experts. They're written out, not just ironed out, but they're written out and they're properly worded.
Awesome. Let's see if we can get Bond. Okay, I don't see Bond in. Okay, fine. Let me then address the music business side of things a little bit. First of all, one of the things that I've been concerned about. First, let's start up with my perspective is the body of work is great from an artistic standpoint. I think it's awesome. The key thing drilling down to the money aspect is, first, if you're having a lot of extras don't expect to be compensated that much. It's not pragmatic. Extras don't get paid that much. You might have some sort of exchange, or maybe the fact that you can boast to your family and friends that you were in a Beyonce visual album, musical album. is more than enough, but extras don't get paid that much and should not expect to. They should expect to sign releases, whether they have non-disclosure agreements, to keep the compensation as private as possible and confidential as possible, not breach that. So that's that. The core talent, it all depends too. You might get a lump sum with some sort of royalty payments, or you might not even get that much money, but a lump sum, no royalty payments coming in. It all depends on your power and your negotiation, depending on the talent. Now, on the music side of things, and one of the reasons why I'm very big on, we have to be very careful to really, really stay in the business framework, whether you're culture appropriation inclined or cultural appreciation, is if you look for the past 5 to 7 years, what has been happening on the continent, or let's say 10 years now, a lot of African creatives have really, really finally, especially with music, put music on the global map where everyone is getting noticed or noticing. So within the past 5 years, we've seen a lot of the Western conglomerates and huge brands running into Africa, whether it is, whether I see a bond trying to get in, okay, hopefully we get a few 2 cents or 3 cents from him on that money scheme, because that he has a lot of experience in that space as well. But what we've seen happen is the Sonys are there, the Universals, the Tidal being Beyonce's company. 2014, Jay-Z had sent representatives of Tidal to go check the place out. Subsequently, they've entered into all kinds of deals, including with MTN, one of the largest telecommunications company in the West. Beyonce is a shareholder from all indications in Tidal. And so they've been looking at this market that's doing so well and extending into a global space where all of the big majors are interested. The majors are also competitors for brands like Tidal, co-owned by both Jay-Z and Beyonce, and of which the big rush is digital distribution, right? Digital music distribution, bringing in this huge Western catalogs. Of course, we want African content coming in as well. So when Beyonce is brokering deals and people are saying, oh, you should be happy or it's a gift, I don't see it as a gift. I certainly see it as business decision, because to me, the money is on the continent. And it makes sense then that she would want to go there. It makes sense for relevancy issues. It makes sense for the identity issue that we started off talking with. Someone who initially was managed by her father, then subsequently parlayed to working with her husband, and then had to redefine her own sense of identity with Parkwood Entertainment, her company, and has had to prove herself. And for a long time has been locked into a box where it's sort of like a manufactured Beyonce. But now she gets to really tap into adding her voice to the space and insist on being recognized and respected. And for that to also manifest itself, you've got to make the money. And the money is on the continent, which brings me to the distribution aspect of and marketing and promotions of how she did this. She didn't just stop with Disney Plus. Obviously, she had the option to go to Netflix. She had the option to go to Hulu or any other brand. But she worked to deal with Disney Plus, and equally important on the continent of Africa, she worked with Canal on the Afrique side of things. She worked with other Middle Eastern and Sub-Saharan Africa for distribution everywhere. Beyonce is ready to make a lot of money. This content she's had co-created. I don't know what the deal terms are with our African creators, but I presume a lot of the bulk of that royalties that will be coming in will be benefiting, obviously coming back here to the States and Western side of things. So she is a businesswoman. She's making a calculated move. I expect to see it have a huge return on investment on the continent side, regardless of the production cost, which hopefully wasn't too much considering the dollar exchange rate on the continent, even though you're traveling across the continent and you're hiring all this massive amount of people to produce. To me, it's not as much as producing over here. So that's how I see it. I'll bring Bond in to have a discussion on the more nuanced side of money, and hopefully we can actually hear him now, and then we'll be ready to wrap things up. All right, Bond, let's get you actually really focused in here. Can we hear you better? What's the deal?
Sorry about a lot of technical issues, but I think I'm better much right now. Okay, on the deal on the business side, I think Beyonce is a businesswoman. She doesn't joke with her money. You know, she follows where the money is. So she has sat down with her team and discovered that Africa is the next big thing. Africa is becoming the next oil well. So the only way she can tap into that is by bringing this axis together from West Africa to East Africa, South Africa, bring everybody, let's make a video, let's make a song, let's produce something different. In as much as she's telling a story, she's trying to showcase the Africa, the new Africa, to really educate the people. She's at the same time, she's still trying to make money. She's still trying to go where the money is, which is Africa, right? Everybody is coming to Africa. Tidal now has a network for Africa. Every other big brand, streaming brand, they now have stuff for Africa, which is where the money is and will be in the next 10 years from now, you know. So she already seen that, so she went for it. She brought everybody and they are doing it. Now on our own African artists, not just Nigerian artists, right? She featured a lot of Nigerian artists on that project. There are also artists from South Africa and other East Africa as well. But she also sat down again and figured that Nigeria has the largest, right? Nigeria has the dominant, is the next big thing. So I think that's why she featured more of Nigerian. And at the same time, royalties. I don't know what the deal is.
Hold on a sec on that point too. Not just on the music side, a lot of the creatives on the film side of things actually, and the video directing, heavy Nigerian production as well. But go ahead. For the royalty side, just talk to us just briefly about the compensation scheme you've seen when you have a Western talent like Beyonce on that caliber collaborate with talent locally that's also a celebrity, whether it's Phyno, whether it's Burner, Davido. I mean, you've been privy to productions that are like 90,000 people showing up, all kinds of huge scale. You know, what does it look like on the back end? How do you process that? What are some of the compensation schemes that typically would happen?
Okay, it's not easy putting such project together. Kudos to her. You know, the video, she went in different countries. She traveled to different countries in putting that together, and that is a lot of work because you have to look at the logistics, putting her team together as a Beyonce, then bringing all these other people together, and everybody is not in the same place. Everybody is here and there, so bringing everybody, their logistics, their welfare, their security, and also the money aspect of it, because it's business, right? So everybody is coming for the business as well, in as much as they're trying to showcase a perfect picture. They're coming for the business as well. So putting all those together, and she took her time. It took her like almost a year to put these visuals together, which means she's been working tirelessly, trying to get the best out of every song, out of every video she's doing. The choreography, the dresses, the cultures, making sure that everything goes in place. That is a whole lot of work, because sometimes you plan to shoot a video, you make a budget with your producer, you know, script everything, and sometimes it might not work your way. You have to reshoot. Sometimes the weather can change, right? Because you have to look at it. Sometimes they shoot with weather, the camera, you know, some little technical things, which will now cost another extra budget, right? But I think she's Beyonce. She's really prepared
so
for it.
On the money side, for those listening to pursue that money side, can you talk specifically on what that's looked like from your standpoint? I know, of course, we've got the mechanicals. Well, let me just break it down to the publishing side, the recorded music side, and live entertainment. We've talked a little bit about live entertainment income through merchandising. But just generally, what are the kind of deals that you broker in situations like this that you have had seen? And then we'll wrap it up and invite everybody else to give their final closing thoughts.
Okay, on that monetary side, I think what the kind of deals that we have as most Nigerian artists, usually, because coming from such a powerful woman like Beyonce, what the deal I expect the deal to be like is she is bringing these people to be on a project, but it's business, and these people are already big. They're already superstars. They already have billions of followers, right? So she's tapping into their own fan base and their market. So it's going to be, I would say it's a 50-50 deal, you know, but it could be like maybe 70% to Beyonce, maybe the rest 30% to the artists. sometimes it could be less, sometimes it could be more, or sometimes it could not be. It could be a payoff stuff. You know, it could be a payoff. Oh, I want you on this. I could pay you up, and no royalty, nothing comes to you. But I'm going to the agreement. Agreement might be like, okay, I'm not going to take 1 naira from you, but I'm going to be on the video. You have the right to use my face, my name in all your billboard, in every outdoor advertising and stuff like that. So it could be, it depends on the kind of deal they'll settle for. But most times in Nigeria, because there's a way our system functions, most times they usually pay off. Like, okay, I'm going to be on this album. Okay, this is my fee.
I don't they don't negotiate out that publishing. It's just that one lump sum of here you go.
Yes, that most times, 99% times it's like that. It's like, this is my fee. Keep your royalties to yourself, keep your visuals to yourself. Or most times, this is my fee for this audio. Then when it's time for video, this is my fee for visuals if I want. You know, most times it could be like a general term, like, okay, I'm giving you 10% of everything that comes off this project, but you have to do this, do that, blah. So it could be, I don't know what the deal is, but most times it's usually like that. You know, and at the same time, they still get their featured credit, name mention, billboards, and every other thing attached to the progress of the work. You know, but that sums up it, right?
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Actually, maybe you could just give a very short context for those listening as well, especially industry professionals on the Western side of things, that historically we haven't seen across the continent, with the exception of maybe South Africa. We haven't necessarily seen our songwriters make money on the music publishing side of things. So for the composition, the lyrics, the melody, we haven't really seen our composers, our writers make money on music publishing. However, where we see artists make money is the performance side of the recording artist side of things. And then even then, that's not that much money. Really, the live entertainment income, more the shows and the concerts are where the money is, although things are starting to change. But can you just speak very briefly on that source of income? Like what was the source of income, for example, with working with some of the top artists that you have, including your prior client, Phyno?
Okay, the thing is, in Africa, let me say in Nigeria, the major source of income in Nigeria is through shows, performing here and there. These are the major source of
Someone
income.
has their music on, if it's okay to, I don't know who. Okay, go ahead.
Those are the major source of income in Nigeria. Then in some other African countries like South Africa, I'm very sure South Africa, their streaming income, one of their major source is streaming. Again, it's not usually through shows. Is streaming. You know, some different, because they have the structure and their songwriters, their song executives and stuff like that. They also have what they call a split sheet. A split sheet for producers is a producer split sheet that allows the producers to earn a certain amount of royalties of the song he or she is producing. Right. So we are getting to that level in Nigeria whereby before you produce a song, we put a pen and paper to that split sheet that, hey, I am entitled to so X amount of money, you know. But it still boils down to the creative, the managers, behind the scenes, to try to re-educate, to give people the information that this is where the money is as of 2020. You can still make money from this side as a producer, as a songwriter, as a dancer. You just have to own it. You just have to be knowledgeable, be informed about what's going on, where the money is. It has gone from not just making money from your shows, right? Like the managers, you have the representation of this artist should impose that, let the artists know that this is what it is as of 2020. This is the way forward. This is how Beyonce that we know, this is how they work. This is how they earn their money and become who they are. You can also make money from this other angle, and this is how it works on that angle. So we have to start teaching our people, teaching our artists, even the younger generations, the artist manager, everybody has to be aware, inform the audience that this is the new way of making money. You can still make money in your living room through streaming. You mustn't go to show to make money, right? So we have to keep educating. We have to keep educating, which is why I even put out a book to try to re-educate what's
Okay.
happening in this 2020, not
Okay.
the other way around.
There we have a comment from SMS 96 says, can we also talk about how much of our cultures we want to infuse into mainstream? Because my real concern is the danger of losing meaning in the process, especially elements of cultural symbolism. So I will invite all panelists to have a stab at that. And then we will get a chance to now close out individually. So this particular commenter wants to know how we can infuse our cultures into mainstream so that we don't lose the meaning in the process. Eji, you seem like you'd be perfect for that, and Elfonnie as well. Go ahead.
No, for me, I mean, how do we infuse our cultures into the mainstream without losing them, without
losing the meaning in the process? I mean, Beyonce does all this wonderful things, but the meaning is lost if we're not really telling our stories in that sense.
I mean, I think it's really tough because stories continue to evolve. Our cultures also evolve. We're going to start to tell that story in today's culture, in today's environment. So how do we tell that story today? Because we could have told that story 20 years ago differently. Today, we must tell it differently. So it's very hard to say in a bottle how you're going to do that. You know, I think you're going to have a unique way that you want to interpret this story in the way that you see it today. And you have to be conscious of how you want people to understand it, the perceptions that you want to create from telling that story. From this album, I feel like she tried to create this aspirational story about Africa, about Black people, about Black cultures. And here we are having different conversations about it, having different interpretations to it. And I think we have to allow ourselves to have these conversations, to have these interpretations and misinterpretations. They all are part of
the conversation at large.
Yes.
Okay. Elfonnie, you want to add to that point in answering the question from a commenter or viewer? You want to unmute, Elfonnie, so we can hear you.
Okay. So I think conversations like the ones that we're having right now are very important in keeping our culture in check and making sure that as artists, whether African artists at home or, foreign artists or, African American artists, as they tell or as they take part of the African stories, because it's not just one, there's no one African story, as they tell African stories, that they don't lose the culture. So my hope is that the artists will listen to conversations like the one we're having. They'll listen to what social media is saying, because no matter how many haters are out there, no matter how many critics are out there, in there you'll find something constructive that can better your craft, can better our stories, and can basically just, fill the gaps that the West had lost when they tried to tell our story, right? So it's conversations like this, right? So, and we have to understand that no one artist can tell any story. Every single person or every single artist would interpret their own story differently and based on their perspective or their understanding. How I see a color may not be how you see that color. I could see it as navy blue, and you could tell me that, oh, that's a different kind of blue, right? So stories, cultures are subject to interpretation, but as long as we are looking at the underlying message, the most important message of that culture, and making sure that it's not being, how can you make sure that it's not being over commercialized, right? We're supposed to reap from their talents, from their cultures, but as long as we are not watering it down so much for the purpose of financial gain, it's conversations like this that will keep those things in check. And
okay, Bond. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I hope they're listening. That's it.
Okay, Elfonnie. Bond. One last final statement with respect to that comment, and then I'm going to remove all of you from the. Actually, let me start doing that now, and Bond will also give you the chance to wrap up also with your call to action. Okay, let's do that. Your statement with respect to what SMS 96 asked about?
Okay, I think when it comes to culture, we should just keep. Nobody can tell our stories better than us.
Is there
We have
a way to that music on the background? Okay, don't.
It's out there. It's out there.
Well,
But I think on our culture part, I think we have to tell our story by ourselves through social media. Social media has given us the voice to tell our story by ourselves, and we can also do that through books. And I encourage every other African artist out there to keep pushing their culture, to keep infusing it in their music, even in our movies. I think we can do more in our comedies. Stuff that we do within Africa, we can put more, we can infuse more on that, because the Western, the
we
white.
gotta get clearance for music on the show, man. Don't get us in trouble. But anyway, it's an educational show, so hopefully we don't have any wala. But go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Bond.
so I think on our movie part, on our comedy, on through books, these are ways that we can add more, because these Western people, they can't really tell our story more than we can do by ourselves, and we have to tell the real story, not someone coming to paint a picture because he or she has never been there, did not grow up there. They're just coming to milk or tap into it because we have managed to build it to the level we are. Like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, nobody was giving an African a chance to showcase themselves or to do stuff with our culture. But this day is happening. They are beginning to realize that, oh, this is the future. This is where the next money is. And everybody is trying to put head there to go and milk, But we have to stand on our own and own it, own the culture, represent, be aware, be informed about what's happening and how we can protect ourselves and sell the story, and let the real culture, the history of who we are, let's tell it properly, so that the people out there will know what's going on. We can do that through our fashion. We are doing that with our fashion, with our fabrics, with our music. There's a whole lot of platform that we can do that. Look at what they do with Wakanda. I believe we can do more. That is just the beginning of it. I know that a lot more people, a lot more stuff like that are still going to come in, but it's up to us to stand and protect what we have, because that is our own gold, which they are coming to fish. It's been nice being here as well.
Okay, so 1 second, there's a comment from Ifeanyi Felix Ebigbo. That must be family, same last name. But he had left a comment a lot earlier on the panelists as a whole. So thank you so much, Ifeanyi. So Stanley Ebigbo, thank you so much for taking time out to join us and share your insights. And so I want to give you an opportunity to tell our audience how we can be of service to you for donating such a gracious amount of time to educate us on the business of music and fashion and all the other thoughts that you have to say. So how can we support you? You want to unmute so we can hear you.
Okay, I'm African. I believe in the culture. I love African a lot. Most of the things I do it for the culture. Look at what I'm wearing is African. Everything about me represents African, because I've seen the impact. So I'm on the level where I'm on impact, right? I put out a book. It's a music business book. It's called A Grounded Ways to the Music Industry, right? This is for African. This is not, I put it out based on my experience in the music business for the last decade. So
put it up a little closer again, just so we see it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a music business book. It's a music business book. I featured some heavyweights from African. I try to put them together. Let's tell our story. Let's educate the next generation on the music business, the music and the business, so they'll be aware. Like these people like Beyonce and PDD. Everybody's trying to step into the continent, Africa, to to do business with us. You have to be aware of how the business works, or else they are going to come and use you, and you're not going to benefit. So you have to be aware. You have to protect yourself. You have to get ready. Know where the money is coming from. Know where the music, the culture is going from, because it's going to get bigger and more interesting. More people, more movies are still going to come. Look at what Netflix is doing. Netflix is already in Africa, and they have Target. they know what they are doing. They can see what we can't see. But it's now left for us to own and protect ourselves and get ready. So when it comes, it's business and it's business, you keep it that way. So you guys should just do me a favor in purchasing a copy of this. You can get it for your artist, for your cousin, or if you're a record label, if you're a music investor.
And where can they go to specifically purchase it? What platforms can they go?
You can get it on Amazon.com. You can get it on OkadaBooks.com. It's in hard copy. It's in ebook series. The audio version is coming out in a few months' time. So it's a big project for me as well. And it's for Africa. It's not for Nigerian. It's not for me. I just have to empty my head for Africa because I want the culture to get better and everybody get money, become the next. I want to see the next Michael Jackson come from Africa.
Awesome.
That is the end for me putting out the book.
Awesome.
Thank you. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. That's Bond, everybody. Thank you so much. I have read the book. I actually did an interview with Bond that's also part of the podcast prior episode. Check it out, which is one of the reasons why I wanted him as a guest on here after reading the book, because I said, oh my gosh, somebody thought to take the time to put this in a book and has so much wealth of experience. We wanted to certainly pull him in, and has produced all kinds of interesting shows and videos on a massive scale on the level that Beyonce is producing in terms of the amount of people and production work. So has a lot of experience to share. So definitely check the book out. And thank you again, Bond, for being here. Let's get Elfonnie right in here. Elfonnie Anusionwu. I hope I'm saying that last name correctly. I had to go from a different last name to this. Yeah, so awesome. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us and educating us and having such great insights. Our audience loved you and your comments. Any final words on how we can support you, having supported us so much with what you had to share today?
First of all, I want to say thank you, Udak, for inviting me. It's really an honor to be here. And I've enjoyed my time. I've enjoyed learning from the other guests. And it's been a great time. And I'm hoping that we can, like Bond was saying, we can all open up our eyes to whatever Disney Plus is seeing that we already see, which is why we have built the industry to what it is right now. Udak, we call you the trailblazer because a lot of the things that are happening now you foresaw many years ago in terms of, the industry growth and, things like that. Having said that, it's so easy to support Style Rave. Why not? All you have to do is go to stylrave.com. It's literally a style Bible, for lack of a better word. And we do fashion, beauty, lifestyle, culture, all the things that keep us excited, right? So you can read to improve your style, see looks to get inspired to become more stylish, because I think the rest of the world is starting to realize what celebrities already knew, which is that style is a very important part of your being. It is your packaging. It's how you basically present everything that you are. And so at Style Rave, we help people cultivate their style, improve their style, elevate their style. And you can read articles, you can subscribe. You can subscribe to Style Rave Premium, which is where we curate and we detail strategic ways to improve your style. And it's not all about spending money or wearing big designer items, far from it. It's more about basically curating a style that defines you, that introduces you before you have to say anything. You can also shop looks because we're fully functional.
One-stop shop.
Yes. You can shop statement pieces on our shop, which is all on stylrave.com. And to subscribe to Premium, you'll see some articles that are premium. It would say there SR Premium, and those are the ones that you have to subscribe to read. So it's pretty easy to support. Again, thank you for having me, Udak.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right, and where is Eji? Oh my, Eji, what happened to you? Eji, okay, I don't see Eji in the waiting room. He might have inadvertently disconnected himself, but I want to thank all my guests that were able to make it today. Eji Benson, in terms of supporting him, he is a fashion manufacturer. I know he has so many different deals going. So I would say that all industry folks that are interested in, he's here. What happened to you, Eji? We're trying to give you an opportunity to tell the world how to support you.
For some reason, it just
Okay. Oh, it fell.
yeah. No, I don't know. I think something went wrong.
Oh, okay. All right. Please. Thank you so much for well, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And can you please tell us how we can support you for being such a gracious guest and sharing so much insight and knowledge with us today?
I want to thank you for actually making me a part of this. I think this was such an amazing conversation to have. And for me, it just shows me what we can do together. So for me, what I would want is a chance to work with some people to see how we could create some brand extensions, how we could empower ourselves. Now, it's such a good thing that we've got someone like Bond and we've got you to tie up a few things. And then on the product end, there's someone like me. There's other companies too, but we can create some incredible products together, some incredible energy around these fantastic guys who are making, and women and girls who are making just incredible music, you know. So,
and Eji, your project that you're working on the continent, is that something you can reveal now or no?
Not yet, but we're
okay. So we'll keep that to the side. No need to reveal that.
We'll reveal that with you.
Okay, yes. Sounds good. But you and Bond have a connection to make, and you and other talent managers, among other things, and you and Elfonnie, because she has the e-commerce side of things that she's doing as well. Absolutely. On the product side of things, and maybe even syncing up with her, having some of your products through her shop. That sounds like a synergistic connection for you both. Well, absolutely. thank you, Eji, for coming on. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Take care. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. So let me read a few comments here. That is Ifeanyi saying educative, informative, and entertaining. Great panelists, great host. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Uni saying, well done, panelists. Very insightful analysis, constructive criticisms, and all. Thanks for sharing. Great job hosting, Ms. Uduak. Looking forward to the next topic. Highly educational. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. This was our first live stream. There were little glitches, but no big deal. We'll get it right the next time. It is the real world. Glitches do happen. It's how we step from it and how we handle those glitches. Thank you again to our guests. It's been real. Take care. Have a great one. And until next time, go out there and be brilliant and continue to empower yourselves and just be the great, powerful people that you are. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.